application basically is about the illegal ascendance to power of the current president and first secretary of Zanu-PF, who is also the president of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, and his associates. You know, these comrades, they organized a kangaroo meeting at our party headquarters to implement their strategy of toppling Comrade Mugabe from the position of president and first secretary of Zanu-PF. They convened a purported special session of the Central Committee on Sunday, the 19th of November, 2017. Now, the issue is that all of this was done outside the provisions of the party's constitution, because the constitution clearly stipulates that only the Secretary of Administration is the only one who could convene lawfully a session of the Central Committee in the exercise of his or her powers under Article 9, Section 48 of the Zanu-PF Constitution. Unfortunately, for reasons known to the individuals who convened the meeting, the Secretary of Administration did not convene the session of the Central Committee. And according to their resolution document, that is the minutes of that meeting, they said that the special meeting was sitting purportedly in terms of Article 7, Section 37.7 of the party's constitution. But they violated the same constitution left, right, and center during that meeting. That meeting had a string of illegalities, deceit, and lies. Number one, Comrade Patrick Shinamasa is the Secretary for Legal Affairs. He had no power whatsoever to convene the central meeting. Secondly, Comrade Obed Mpof had no power whatsoever to preside over the Central Committee meeting, as our Constitution clearly states that only the first Secretary and President can preside over the Central Committee meeting. In his absence, one of the secretaries should preside. In their absence, only and lastly, the chairman should preside over the Central Committee meeting. Nowhere in our Constitution does it state that the Central Committee members could elect one of their own to preside over the meeting. But anyway, let's just assume that Comrade Mugabe was incapacitated to preside over that meeting. There was his legitimate vice secretary, Comrade Illegitimacy, who could have chaired that Central Committee meeting. I am sure he was very much available, and he was ready to preside over a legitimate Central Committee meeting. In his absence, no one else, according to our Constitution, could preside, because the co-vice president at that time, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, had been fired, and we had no chairman since 2014. So only those two, Comrade Mugabe and Comrade Illegitimacy, could preside over a legitimate Central Committee meeting. But to justify their illegalities in the eyes of us, the members, they lied that the absent leaders were incapacitated to perform their duties. But that was a complete lie. Because President Mugabe had just kept hundreds of students at the Zimbabwe Open University, and it's all captured on the videos. Therefore, he could possibly not fail to chair a simple Central Committee meeting. Also, Comrade Mugabe met someone of his age, because we obviously need this experience.
Your call for this regularization of the party leadership, is this something that enjoys support from other members in the party, particularly the Youth League, or is it just you and a few lone voices?
In fact, a lot of people in Zanu-PF are very excited with this application. I never imagined the level of support that I have so far received from current and previous Zanu-PF members, including some people sitting in the Politburo right now at the Central Committee. That's the surprising part. So sometimes you wonder, the same people who are sitting with Emerson Mnangagwa are calling me in support to say that was a brave move. We are fully behind you. It's quite tremendous. And a lot of Zanu-PF leaders and members from almost all provinces are very much excited with the move. Who doesn't want constitutionality? Everyone does.
you started, it sounded as if that you were quite upset with the way that President Mugabe was removed. Are you saying that you would have preferred that he stay in power?
No, I'm not saying that. If you listened to our former President Robert Mugabe's Asante Sana speech, he said he was ready to preside over a legal Central Committee meeting in a few weeks. If we didn't no longer want Comrade Mugabe to be the president, the issue should have been raised in that specific Central Committee meeting. It was supposed to be put on the agenda while he or his deputy, Comrade Belegezelam Poko, were presiding over that meeting. Then people would have voted. If a majority would have voted in favor of Comrade Mugabe being removed, I wouldn't have a problem with that. My problem is coming from violating our constitution, not from Comrade Robert Mugabe being removed from power.
So are you suggesting that President Mnangagwa and others essentially staged a coup?
It was a political coup, yes, because they convened an illegal meeting to remove a constitutionally elected first secretary and president of our party. So yes, it was a political coup. Comrade Mnangagwa and his other, the Central Committee, the illegal Central Committee members who passed that resolution, yes, I can confirm that.
Would you like there to be a change in leadership? I know that you would stand by whatever the party votes, but what would be your preference?
I would put it this way. I want our leaders to follow the constitution of our party in regularizing those leadership positions. But as a youth, I also want to be given a chance to choose my preferred leader, whom I believe will take Zimbabwe to better levels economically and socially. But if my choice doesn't fall on the side of the majority, I will gladly accept the results. But what I want is the leadership to represent the wishes and choices of ZANU-PF members, not the current state of us having an imposed leader. Comrade Mnangagwa was imposed on us by an illegal Central Committee meeting. But if the people choose him in a constitutionally presided CC meeting, then I will gladly accept the results.
But he won an election. I mean, isn't that a de facto choosing of President Mnangagwa as the preferred choice for the party leadership?
We voted for our party. Obviously, I wouldn't want my party to lose an election. So we didn't have a choice. That was the only person who was on the ballot paper representing ZANU-PF. So we had to vote for him. We had to vote for a ZANU-PF representative. And at that time, some of us, we actually had gone through the resolutions of that Central Committee meeting and probably the Constitution. But now that we are aware there is an illegality, it has to be solved.
The majority of members in ZANU-PF, are they still behind President Mnangagwa as leader of the party? Because if they are, then there really is no point in going through a whole special Congress if he is the most popular person. If he isn't, then what you're trying to do then perhaps has some legs.
These guys, after they, illegally took over power, they've a string of unconstitutionalities. They are afraid of holding elections. Our provinces, they expired in 2017, but up to now, we don't have solid provinces. They are just co-opting their allies into those provinces because they are afraid of having elections. And we were supposed to have a Congress in 2019 according to the ZANU-PF constitution, but that Congress was postponed to 2022. That's another illegality. They are afraid of holding elections. If you are popular with the people, why would you be afraid to hold an election?
Cyber Msengezi, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us and explaining to us this cause that you've taken up to regularize the leadership positions in your party. Thank you for your time.
President Mnangagwa's legitimacy as both the national and ZANU-PF leader has been challenged at the High Court by a party official who is seeking nullification of the November 19, 2017 Central Committee meeting which appointed him the leader. ZANU-PF member Saibeth Msengezi yesterday filed an application at the High Court citing the ruling party and Mnangagwa as the second and third respondents respectively. Msengezi was Secretary for Business Development and Liaison, Muzinda wa Mugabe District, Zone 4, Harare Province before the November 2017 coup. ZANU-PF Secretary for Administration Obert Mpofu, Acting Political Commissar Patrick Chinamasa, former Vice President Pelekezela Mpoko, and Ignatius Tombo were also cited as respondents. Mnangagwa was anonymously appointed ZANU-PF First Secretary on November 19, 2017 during a special session of the Central Committee by senior party members following a military coup that outstayed the late former President Robert Mugabe. Then High Court Judge Justice George Weshe ruled that the military's intervention to stop those around Mugabe from taking power was constitutionally permissible and lawful. In the High Court application, Msengezi, who is represented by Mbidzo Mchadehama and Makoni legal practitioners, is seeking a court order that Mpoko, cited as the fifth respondent, should take necessary steps in line with the ZANU-PF constitution to convene and preside over a special party congress to fill top leadership positions within 3 months of the granting of the order. Whereupon, after reading documents filed of record and hearing counsel for the parties, it is ordered that a declarator be and is hereby issued that the special session of the Central Committee of the First Respondent convened on November 19, 2017 at the party headquarters in Harare from 1000 hours to 1600 hours was ultra vires the provisions of the Constitution of the First Respondent and therefore unlawful and now and void. Msengezi has said, a declarator be and is hereby issued that all the resolutions of the special session of the Central Committee of the First Respondent passed at the unlawful meeting convened on November 19, 2017 are unlawful, invalid, and are accordingly set aside. In his founding affidavit, Msengezi also argues that Mnangagwa's leadership of the country was also illegitimate because he rose to the post through an unconstitutional November 19 Central Committee session. The stakes in the present matter are much higher and cry out for the corrective intervention of this honorable court as the beneficiary of chain of events which commenced with the unlawful special session of the Central Committee convened on the 19th of November 2017. The second respondent now occupies the position of both President and First Secretary of the party and President and Head of State of the country, he said. His accession to both those positions is tainted by the blatant illegalities in violation of the Constitution of the First Respondent. He cannot derive any legitimacy at all from the catalogue of illegalities which were committed in furtherance of his ambition to occupy the two offices of the party and the country. Msengezi claims that the meeting was invalid because Mugabe was not incapacitated as alleged since he managed to preside over a Zimbabwe Open University graduation ceremony the same day he was ousted. He claims that the alleged claim of incapacitation of the 2017 top party leaders by other senior members who attended the unlawful and unconstitutional special session of the Central Committee convened on November 19 was deliberately false and misleading. Musengezi wrote in the court papers that he feared that if Mnangagwa was allowed to retain the position he acquired illegally, he would engage in further illegal conduct to retain and consolidate his grip on power. The matter is yet to be heard.